Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing the book of Cold Cases written by Simone St James. It's a thriller, but it turned out to be a paranormal thriller, and I didn't really enjoy the paranormal part of this book. I'm okay reading paranormal books in general, but I didn't think it worked in this book. I thought the thriller, the mystery, would have been better without the paranormal side. I figure it's just an easy way out for the author to bring about the conclusion of this story, for the protagonist to learn the truth of the mystery. It seemed to me that's the reason why the paranormal element was there. Just an easy way out, so the author didn't have to develop a better way for the protagonist to learn the truth about the mystery. Let's talk about the book now. This book is written with past and present chapters, and I'm not a huge fan of when authors do that, and the author's done this quite a lot in this book. I think there's better ways for an author to bring the past into the present storyline than having past and present chapters all the time. But anyway, in this book in the past, there were two murders, and they happened around 40 years ago in the past storyline. And Beth Greer was accused of those murders 40 years ago. And she was arrested, there was a trial, and she was acquitted. So she was found not guilty, and for 40 years she's been living in the same town, in the same house. It's a very big house. She's got a lot of money. She inherited a huge amount of money from her parents, so she can just live life as she pleases. But for 40 years she's been in the same town with a shadow over her head, basically, because people still think that she was guilty. Shay Collins is our protagonist, and she's a receptionist at a medical clinic. One day, Beth Greer walks in. Shay recognises her, and she wants to do an interview with Beth for her website. So in her spare time, Shay runs a true crime website. She writes articles for it, delving into true crime stories, and she thinks it'll be great to interview Beth, because she's been fascinated with that double murder for a long time. She catches up with Beth, they chat, and then after a while, a day or so later, Beth agrees to the interview. So that's where the story shifts a bit further forward, when we have Shay turning up to Beth's house for their first chat. And I do like these scenes a lot. I think both Beth and Shay are well-written characters, and their dialogue and the way their dialogue brings forward some of the mystery, I think was well done. So I think the book is written very well. The dialogue, for most of the dialogue, is very good. It's just I didn't like the paranormal side, and that creeps in during their first meeting, maybe a little bit beforehand as well. But it's in their first meeting when I think the paranormal side gets its first claws really into this story. And from then on, it pops up every now and then, and it gets stronger and stronger in the story each time. And I think the story could have done without that. The more Shay gets to learn about Beth, the more she's not sure if Beth's telling the truth. And it's very interesting because as a reader, we don't even know if Beth was really guilty 40 years ago. Did she murder those two guys 40 years ago? We're not sure. And the story slowly gives us those details and that truth. And it's not until really towards the end that we learn the truth. You can guess. There are little hints along the way, but there are a few red herrings as well, and that was done really well. I thought the author was able to draw out that mystery and give us little bit by little bit in the story. It's like peeling back an onion. Those onion layers will peel back bit by bit. That's a sign of a very well written and well plotted story. The author's able to control that flow of information to the reader, and it keeps the reader engaged, and I was engaged in this story despite the paranormal aspect. We also learn a lot about Shay, and Shay's got great history in this book as well. And it's the history of these two main characters, Shay and Beth, that really shape a lot of this story. And it was great history, and it really influences who those characters are in the present storyline. And they're both very consistent. But with Shay's history, we learn that when she was 9 years old, she was abducted by a guy in the car. But she was able to get away before the guy could really do anything to her. What then we learn is that she was able to get away and she hid because she was scared being 9 years old, and she hid for a few hours, and during that time another young girl was abducted by the same guy, and that young girl wasn't as fortunate, and she turned up dead. And so Shay carries this guilt around and this trauma around with her for many years, and since then she's had post-traumatic stress about getting in cars. She doesn't trust cars, and also she carries guilt thinking that if she had spoken up and not hid for those hours after that guy tried to abduct her, the other young girl may not have been killed. So she carries survivor guilt with her for all these years as well, and that comes out in the story. But does that guilt and that trauma colour the way she thinks about Beth? And that is a theme that plays along in this book as well. Can we really trust Shay's feelings about Beth? Or do we really trust what Beth says about her past and what she did? So we've got two main characters that we don't know if we can trust fully. And that was really interesting when reading this book. The ending of this book I can give or take because it's really focused on the paranormal. And this is where I think the author used the paranormal element as an easy way out for the protagonist Shay to learn about the mystery and solve the mystery. I would have preferred if the mystery was solved by more conventional means. I don't think we need the paranormal aspect in this story. I think it kind of ruined it, to be honest. But if I take the paranormal aspect away, the book's well written, the characters are really strong, the plot's really strong and well structured, the book itself has great bones, it's written very well, but that paranormal aspect kind of lowered the tone for me a bit and did affect the read. Beth Greer is my favourite character in this book. She's not the protagonist, but she's one of the main characters, but she's my favourite. I really like this character. I just loved her whole attitude, her whole persona in this book. She comes across as a bit cantankerous, a bit angry, maybe even a bit resentful of the fact that her past has kind of ruined her life, or she thinks it has. Also, she hides things quite well. She's got a very reserved personality, but she's very quick as well sometimes to get to anger. So she's very emotive, but also very reserved at times. So that was a strange combination, and it shows many facets to this character's personality. And she's very consistent in her personality as well. And she was just so well written and well rounded, and she felt very real. So this character is a very strong character, and the authors created this character very well. Shay Collins, while she's the protagonist, isn't my favourite character in the book. She has a very good emotional depth to her in the book, and sometimes that takes control of the character, and I think sometimes it controls her thinking as well, and what she thinks about other people, and what she does in the book. And that came across very strongly, and I think that's just a sign of the author tying in her past to the character. So that was well done. She has a lot of strength about her as well. She's clever, she's also quite cunning, and she also just grabs strength from somewhere. I don't know where it comes from. It seems to be there, hidden deep down all along, but it comes to the surface as the book progresses. And I think that's more about the fact that she's finding out about herself more as the more she learns about Beth. That's a sign of character growth, and that was coming across very strongly in this book, the character growth of Shay. And it was a very positive character growth for her. I didn't really think the ending for her was that strong, but I do think the whole character overall was a very good character. Joshua Black is one of the detectives investigating the crime that happened 40 years ago, that double murder. And he was written as a good cop, a cop that had feelings, and a cop that may not have thought that Beth was guilty. But he was doing his job because while he didn't think Beth was guilty, he still had to do his job and follow the evidence, follow the clues that they had at the time. But was he a good cop really, or was he just trying to get fame from the case? That was a question that was hinted at in the book. I don't know if it was fully investigated enough in the book, and I thought it should have been investigated more, because there is that side to him, and that hinted through the book every now and then. And I think if we had explored that part of his personality, then Joshua Black may have been a more well-rounded and more well-presented character. He is a good character, but I think there was something missing. And I think it was that exploration of that side to him, whether he's trying to hunt fame really hunt justice. When I finished this book, the Book of Cold Cases, I was in two minds. I really enjoyed the mystery, and I thought it was so well written and the characters were really good. But the paranormal side did have an impact in the story, and it was a negative impact for me. Because of that, I rated it a 3 out of 5. I think if the paranormal side hadn't been there, I would have rated it higher, because I did find it quite a big negative, and it shouldn't have been there in my opinion. I still think it was there as an easy out for the author. I do review a lot of mystery books on my channel. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. I also have a mystery playlist on my channel. It should be on your screen now.